Alright guys, now we got a project. This is a 2005 Buick Terraza. What the hell is a Terraza, right? They only made them for like 3 years, which makes working on this thing kind of a pain in the ass because it's hard to, they don't even make a Haynes manual for this car. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to change the transmission. This is my winter project. Backstory. The patient presented with grinding or more of a growling in the front end. I took it for a test drive. I heard the growling. Couldn't tell which wheel it was coming from. Sounded like a wheel bearing to me. But before I could get the tires off and have a look, transmission goes out. And here's the weird thing. You turn the car off and turn it back on, you could drive for 30 seconds to a minute. It would go out again. Well, first of all, first thing I look for when transmission's not working, the shifter, the shift linkage. Because if that goes out, your shifter doesn't click. It'll just free spin, whether it's on the column or whether it's on the floor. You can push the button, it'll just move back and forth. Because the clicking that the shifter's making is actually coming from the transmission. That's the cable going through the different gears. So I had clicking, which automatically ruled out that it was a shift linkage problem. And at that point you're thinking, oh shit, we got a transmission problem. So what do you look for next? You look for transmission fluid. Low transmission fluid will cause the car not to go, because the transmission's hydraulic, and if it's low on fluid, you're not moving. So I checked the fluid, pulled the stick out. Another oh shit moment. The fluid is black. It's full and it's black. And I'm not talking deep red, I'm not talking brown, I'm talking black. I pulled this stick out. I don't know if the camera's going to pick it up. It's actually kind of dark now. I dropped the pan and filter, put new fluid in it. Even the new fluid's a little kind of dark red. It's not as pink as I would like. I changed the fluid because what was happening, the reason you could turn it off and turn it back on and drive for 30 seconds to a minute, transmission filter was clogged. So whatever's come apart in the transmission has come apart in such a fine particle that it clogged the filter. And when you would turn the car off, the filter would the sediment that was clogging the filter so bad would kind of settle down. So when you restart the car, it took 30 seconds to a minute before enough sediment got back up into the filter to where it was restricting flow. So I dropped the pan, replaced the filter. It was also making, I don't know if you've ever heard a water pump lose its prime. It was making that kind of noise. At about the 30 seconds to 45 second mark when you'd restart it, you could hear it. You could hear it losing the prime. So I knew it was a fluid problem. Dropped the pan, changed the filter, changed the fluid. And now it drives. But it's jerking. When you first take off, it doesn't jerk. But if you drive it for a minute, get it warmed up, stop at a stop sign, and go to take off, the engine will rev up without any forward drive. It'll take it a second, and then it clunks into drive. Very important thing, before I change the fluid, when you turn it back on and you could drive it for 30 seconds, you had full transmission in this thing. It wasn't slipping in first gear. I mean, I pulled it out into the alley, and I just hit the gas, and it went. I mean, you had full, there was no slippage in the gears. Now, there's a situation going on where, I don't know if you'd call it a slip, but it's like enough fluid's not being pumped. I'm thinking it's the stator support inside the transmission. If you Google that, you'll know what I'm talking about. That's the thing that gives it the extra oomph when you take off from a stoplight or a dead stop. So I don't have that extra oomph, but I do have full drive. It'll go. Just when you first take off, you got to give it a little gas, and then it's like delayed engagement of the transmission. So this is my project. I figure if the fluid was that black, and I should have took some pictures of it when I did it. The fluid was that black. Something in the transmission's obviously come apart. Something's going on in there. I still don't know whether the growling noise is a transmission problem or it's a wheel bearing problem, so we're going to check the wheel bearings. Because it all has to come apart. I don't know if you've ever changed a transmission. I've only changed the transmission one other time in my life, and I about killed myself doing it. That was on a 96 Lumina. It is not an easy job to do, but I have to do it. Who knows, I might get it apart and I might see that an obvious problem at the torque converter or something like that. But at this point, we are prepared to put a new transmission in this thing. And I'm the one that's got to do the labor. So come along with me on this journey. Okay, I should point out that this car has 189,000 miles. And it's more than likely the original transmission. I put it on a couple jack stands. I got the front end up the ground just a little bit. I want to see if I can replicate any of the noise that I hear on the street. Reverse. Yes, I know the parking brake is on. Alright. I'm on jack stand, so I should be alright. Traction control active. Okay. Neutral. Drive. Okay. You want to brake it soft when you're on jack stands, that way you don't cause a big jolt. Third. I'm just going to go through all the gears and verify I do have every gear. Okay, wheels are moving. First gear. Okay. Drive. Traction control is going to be a problem. And let's see. You know what? Let's see if that works. I didn't even realize there was a button there. There we go. There's the grinding. Hear that grinding? Slowly dug down. Okay, let's try that one more time. See? The grinding didn't kick in until second gear. Okay, let's come back down. Always let it off. Always let the brake on slowly when you're on jack stands. You don't want to cause a jolt. Let's try that one more time. Okay, wheels are spinning. I got no grind. Oh, I got a little bit there. I'm just not sure that that growling's coming from the wheel. I mean, it does have a little play, but I get the feeling that it's coming from the tranny. Okay, so I was able to, you know, replicate the grinding, although I would say it's more like a rowling, a roaring or something. I wouldn't call it grinding. It's more of a roar. I don't know, you know, I hear it more on the driver's side than the passenger side. But I don't think it's the wheel bearing. I think it's something in there. Maybe the way the drive axle hooks up to the transmission, or like I said, I'm not able to replicate the first gear, the jerk, because I'm on jack stands and I don't have the weight of the car. So I'm gonna have to take it out and test drive it a little more. Maybe take it on the highway. I haven't had the balls to do that quite yet because I don't want to be stuck out on the highway in the cold. But somebody said online maybe it's because I know that the pump lost its prime. I could tell that before I changed the fluid. So maybe it's just some air trapped in there. Maybe you know. Of course, I'm reaching for. I'm just grasping at straws here. I know that I'm going to have to pull the transmission out and at least have a look. Something turn that fluid black. Okay, even if the grinding is coming from the wheel bearing. Which I don't think it is. Like I say, I put it in gear. I got the wheel spinning fast. I'm right up next to it, and it doesn't sound like it's coming from the wheel bearing. It sounds like it's behind the wheel. you know, just inside the transmission there. So worst case scenario, we'll replace the transmission. That's going to be the more expensive way to go, but we're definitely going to have to pull the transmission. However, I'm going to take it out and drive it a little bit more. Maybe I could rig up the GoPro in the front somehow. We take it for a drive, and we'll see. This will probably be a multiple part video because I'm not going to do all this in one day, obviously, but I do want to put something out just to tell you what I'm doing. If you're interested, you know, come along with me on this journey, because it's definitely a journey I'm going to go along on, and hopefully you'll come along with me.